It was also highly convenient that my sister took me in just before I aged out of foster care, because then I was no longer able to receive any benefits from the state, such as housing, despite the fact that I'd spent over 10 years in their system. 3 days before I graduated, I was hospitalized for heart failure due to the long-term effects of the ADHD medication that they've been giving me. The US DEA reports that Ritalin and Adderall is more potent than cocaine and affects the brain the same way. Side effects for stimulants include suicidal, violent, and psychotic behavior, as well as heart attacks, irregularities of the heart, heart failure, stroke, sudden death, and psychosis. I still have trouble with my heart today, but it's considerably better since I stopped taking my medication in 2010. I want people to know that I've been where you are, and I can personally tell you, you can get better if you fight. Don't give up. I know what it's like to stop caring, even about yourself. Before I went to foster care, I was an extremely happy, talented, creative child. I loved to dance, sing, act, draw, play. In fact, I was so over-creative that my mom even sent me to the Wiseman Center to be extensively evaluated. The evaluation covered both sides of my family, and their verdict was that I simply needed a drama class. I have no doubt in my mind that the professionals there would have been able to detect some kind of chemical imbalance, depression, or ADHD in me, but they didn't. I was simply overdramatic. I don't know any children that don't have a lot of energy. So how is that classified as ADHD and treated with harmful drugs? A lot of these things don't make sense to me. Innocent people everywhere are being chemically hijacked in their own mind, to the point of no return in some cases. I speak from first-hand experience when I say the drugs did more harm than they did good. I felt as though I was being fed stimulants just so I would shut up and be someone's personal slave. Eventually I was turned into a zombie. It was like I was sleepwalking or living in a clouded reality. When I turned 18, my Medicaid got cut off. I was no longer to get any medication or receive any benefits. I don't understand how I was supposed to go to college and become a productive member of society without any support and coming off of years of forced drugging as well as years of trauma. It's clearly evident that the system sets up children for failure. In fact, 70% of youth desire to go to college, but 6% succeed in getting a 2- or 4-year degree. Each year, 27,000 youth age out of foster care. 40% of them have been homeless or couch surfed since, including myself, and 60% of the males have been involved and convicted of crimes. Well, I happen to fall under that category as well. It's clear that they're just trying to keep me in the system as a source of revenue, because they have no other way of making money. My mom and I spent a decade of our lives being traumatized in Wisconsin. I've recently been diagnosed with dissociative amnesia disorder because of it. Only this time I know better than to seek help from my government. If you can relate to this story or have something to say, please do. It could mean the world to somebody. I'll never stop fighting for my mind, spirit, and above all, for my freedom. I had no self-esteem. I was violent. I suffered PTSD flashbacks, ultimately lost myself, literally forgot who I was, and my childhood was robbed from me. I can't change that, but I can do something about the future. The problem is they intend to lock me up in prison before I can. If anyone has any advice to help me clear my name and move on with my life so I can help others, please contact me at taeliscu@gmail.com. And if anyone just needs a friend to talk to who understands and cares and who's been there, feel free to contact that email as well. Releasing yourself from imprisonment in your own mind is the hardest thing I've ever done. I had to relive my whole life and accept it until eventually the flashbacks went away and I was able to begin to heal myself. I'm still healing today. The worst part was watching me, my mom, and my sister fade away into nothingness. When you looked into our eyes, we weren't even there. There's only one thing that gave me the courage and the strength to go on, and that was the kids who are still being abused, my compassion for them, and my love for my family. Once again, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity.
You want me to ask questions now? Let me get my question in. What was the hardest part of being forced to take the drugs?
I'd say the hardest part was watching it happen and not being able to do anything about it, having no control, no say. What it did to my family has to be the hardest part, and just knowing that it's still happening right now all over the world to people, it's unacceptable.
Well, were you ever in the system in New Mexico? I mean, whether it was the adult system or the juvenile system, and if you were, was there a comparison?
I was in New Mexico. I sought help.
Different system?
Oh, definitely. I went to a place called Sojourners, which is a branch of LifeLink, and they help with battered and abused women and housing and stuff like that. And I went there, sought help, and I told them my story. And that's where I was recently diagnosed with dissociative amnesia disorder. They also gave me PTSD, severe depression, and the ADHD still stuck, and they were really helpful. They were looking out for my best interest. They wanted to help me get Social Security so I could have some income, and then they wanted to help me into housing, and they were really helpful, and they didn't even once mention taking a drug to fix anything. They're all about peer support and, you know, finding stability and independence for yourself, and then healing yourself through creative outlets and anything but psychiatric drugging. So in Wisconsin, it's definitely a different setting. You know, in New Mexico, everyone's open-minded and really friendly to that type of thing. And in Wisconsin, people don't even know what an open mind is. It's really very closed-minded and narrow, and everybody just kind of does what they're told out of fear, and that's the way they've created it. And I can see why, because if you try to stand up for yourself or speak out, then they will literally make your life a living hell. They'll take your kids and mess with them until they've driven you crazy. In one case, one of my mom's long-term friends that she actually met in the mental hospital has autistic children, and they took her kids, put them in foster care, and then lost them. And then when she tries to contact her lawyers about it, they intercept her mail, and she's unable to do anything, and she can't just pick up and leave with autistic kids with nowhere to go, and so she's stuck there, and they're constantly messing with her life and her children to this day. And it's just really sad to see so many different cases, so many different people, and it's just okay, and they can just get away with whatever they want because they have the power to do so, and everybody's too afraid to stand up because the people that do stand up are made an example of. And I'd say it's very, very different, Wisconsin compared to New Mexico, very different, and it needs to change.
Good.
Good?
Yeah.